Hi all. I have an interesting project to show you. Now these are not your mother's Peter Pan collar. See, and then you have an interesting, almost like a necklace, but you know, it's fabric. It's not quite a collar, but it's like a Peter Pan collar. And if you have a sweater of a contrasting color on, you could put this on at the top. Or if you have a turtleneck, you could probably put this over the turtleneck, just a little added layer of interest. And then you can have your little cuffs to go with it. But I hope you enjoy this. And, however you feel like you want to fasten it, because it will require something to fasten off. This fall, metallics, shiny things are in fashion. So if you want to get the Rockstar, this is the one I got. Rockstar Silver Purple 52755. That's at Ice Yarns. I used an Italian story called Loose by Red Heart. This is a discontinued yarn, but you can go to Yarn Sub and find yarns that have little sequins in them. Metallics, fur, glitter, crystals, all of that is in this year for the fall. So if you want to add a little quick bling to your outfit, this is the way to go. I recommend that you, just take some of your leftover balls and practice this if you want, and add some crystals. If you like to do beads, you can add beads to your work. I have other videos on how to add buttons to crochet. It's the same principle as beads. So what I'm going to do today as an example, this is the same basic shape as this. It has these points, and then it comes down like this, and there's a rectangle. So when you start, I start out with 3 rows of double crochets, and then I do 3 rows of increasing double crochets. Very simple. The neck is done the exact same way, and you can make your cuffs as long as you want, because the discretionary part is this trapezoid points that you just keep increasing, and you can make these long and long and long. So if you want what they call weepers, you want weepers cuffs that are like a Victorian cuff that is intended for wiping, your tears away. That's what the weepers are. They're really long cuffs. You can use cufflinks so that you don't actually have to sew buttons in. But because these are double crochets, you basically have a buttonhole built in every row. You see that? You just sew a button on the other side. I thought silver cufflinks would look really cute with these. I have stitch markers. You could probably use those. You have some cute stitch markers. Or post earrings, just a pair of earrings, put it together like it's a cufflink. You can starch these too, so that you've got a nice straight edge. So let's get started. I'll show you how to make this shape. It's very quick, it's easy, and it's an accessory that you can add to any outfit, any color, any type of fabric. So I'm using a 5.5 tulip with my foam grip on it. So I'm going to start with a slip knot and 2 chains, and then 3 chains, yarn over and go into that first chain. You don't count the slip knot. So then I go through the first loop, yarn over, and go through the next 2 loops, and then yarn over and go over the last 2 loops. Yarn over, go into that first go through 1, and you pinch it. This is a double crochet foundation chain. The key to creating a foundation chain is always remembering you're making a step forward for every crochet. There's your step forward, and you just do that once. And then you finish your either single or double crochet, whichever you're doing. I'm doing a double crochet foundation chain. So you have the yarn over, and then you go into that top one. So like that's only halfway. There you go. Now you're ready to finish your double crochet. You have to make that extra step and pinch it, and then finish the chain. Yarn over, and then you go back into that one, not this one. That's not the one you go into. This is the one you go into. And I like to pull it really long just so that there's a lot of space, and then I pinch it so it doesn't get pulled tight when you do that step forward, when you're ready to finish your double crochet. Make this as long as you want to go around your wrist, or as long as you want to go around your neck. Make sure you can overlap. I made this one slightly short, so I ended up in the finishing edge. I made a fan just so that I could, put a button or pin it shut. This one I made long enough that it would actually go all the way around and have a little bit of pinch. You see that? And I didn't make it super tight because I didn't know what I was going to use to cinch it shut. I'll probably use a button, but I don't know yet. For all I know, I might just use some earrings. But you see that? So when you're making this, make it long enough to actually pinch it and have like an inch extra. I will meet you back. Okay, I'm back. I wanted to show you, I have an inch that I can pinch on this. This rock star is so beautiful. I would just make little cuffs like this all day long, and I would love these, to wear these in different colors. If you're taking measurements from someone, remember that you can take the exact measurements but then add an inch so that you've got enough play. So now I'm going to, before I go any further, if you don't like doing foundation chains, and I know a lot of people don't, if you go with a regular starting chain and then go back with a double crochet first row, make sure that you use a hook at least 2 sizes larger, if not maybe maybe 1.5 sizes larger than what you're going to use for the rest of the project, just so that your starting chain is not too tight. Also, I'm going to level up here. I like to do stacked single crochets. That's 1. That's the other. Okay, that's the level of a double crochet. It fills it in. You don't get those big gap loops when I do it this way. If you don't like doing stacked single crochets, you can do 3 chains. I don't even do a turning chain. I don't know if you noticed that this is the last foundation stitch. So then it goes into the top of that foundation stitch, no turning chain. I bring that hook through and pull up that loop. Now I've got 2 loops. It looks like a single crochet. That's it. If you were doing single crochets, you're done. You're ready to start. But since I'm doing double crochets, I do it again. You see that? I go into the side and into the pants and pull it up. That's your stacked single crochets up to the level of double crochet. You do one on top of the other for a double crochet row. And then you go into the next row. You don't have to, snuggle up in the first row to make it look, filled in. You're done with that first stitch. You've made your first stitch. And it also counts as the first stitch. And then you do double crochets all the way across till you get to the end. I'll meet you back. Okay, so we're getting it to the end of the second row of double crochet stitches. Now when you're doing a foundation, sometimes it's hard to see where it ends. Do you see how this one kind of opens up a little bit and then has this weird like short bar right there? I don't know if you can see that. You can pick it out. I've noticed that since I've been doing, see how I got that? This little one, this one for some reason is always shorter. I don't know why, in the back. So you have to kind of find it. Now that I've pushed it out, you can really see it. But you can just make sure that you only have one strand across your hook in the back and have 2 across the front. It doesn't matter really which 2 you have across, but that's the actual first stitch. It's a little slanty, and since I've been doing stacked single crochets, I've gotten really good at looking at that last leaning stitch and knowing where it actually is to pull it up and to put my hook into it. Another thing that helps if you've got one of these kind of slightly leaning, tighter stitches is to take your hook and turn it all the way and have it point towards the knot. Rather than trying to pull it through this way, which can be a little difficult towards the outside of that knot, towards the left side, turn it so it's completely around, and also make it tight on your feeding hand. You can just run your finger around a couple times and that'll tighten it up. So this is very tight now. And then turn your hook completely, and that makes it a lot easier to get that stitch through any of the leaning tight stitches. And I did not wrap my yarn. Make sure you wrap your yarn if you're doing double crochets. There we go. And then you finish your stitch. So that is your edge. I don't do a turning chain. I don't chain 1 and turn. I don't do any of that. I just turn. And I turn it in the same way. Most of the time I try to turn it in the same way so that the yarn is in the back. If you are at the end and you turn it this way, do you see how the yarn is now crossing over in the front? And then if you're stuck, you can make your hook go around and then it's in the back. But to alleviate all of that mess, if you're at the end of your work, turn your work this way. So go like a page in a book. Here's the end of your page. Turn it like you're turning a page in a book, and then your yarn will be in the back and ready to go. Just a quick tip. So now let's do our stacked single crochet. Go under both of the bars in the V on the top. Pull it up just so that it's the same level, and then pull it through. The reason why you want that first bar, you want to pull that up, is if this is too tight, you won't be able to get back into your pants. They'll have shrunk in the wash. So anyway, do it again. Go into the pants, pull up that next loop, and then pull through 2 loops. And now you're finished your stacked single crochet up to the level of a double. And then do double crochets across as the last row. And I'll meet you back. Okay, so we're at the last stitch, and it can be real easy to miss it. You might think you're at the end, but make sure that you don't inadvertently decrease your row. We're going to turn our work. We're going to level up. Now this is where we start to make our increase rows. It's so simple. Do a double crochet into the same stitch as your stacked single crochets. That's it. And do a 1-to-1 double crochet till you get to the end. 1 double crochet in every stitch. I'll meet you back. Okay, so I'm at the end of the row. This is the first of the expanding rows. So do 2 double crochets in the last stitch. You do 2 at the front and 2 at the back. Doesn't look like much, but it does add up. At the first stitch, you do your stacked single crochets, and then do a double crochet in the same stitch. Do a double crochet all the way across, and you just keep repeating this row until you have a cuff as long as you want it to be. I think 3 double crochets are enough for the cuff and the neck piece, but your discretion is how long you want your cuff to extend. That is up to you. So I'm at the end of the row. I've put 1 double crochet at the end of the row, and then put 2 double crochets at the end of the row, and I'm only going to do 3 increasing rows. Turn your work and level up 1 stacked single crochet. Then do 3 chains, go back into the legs, and do a slip stitch. That's your picot. Next stitch is a single crochet. Next stitch is another single crochet. Then you do 3 chains for the next picot and go through the legs of the stitch, slip stitch, single crochet in the next stitch, another single crochet in the next stitch, and then 3 chains. Anytime it starts to get too slippery, you can do like that and it kind of locks if it's feeling too slippery. Into the legs of that single crochet, slip stitch. I know it looks like a lot. For some reason the picots look really crazy big until you've locked them down by putting that single crochet next to it. They look huge, they look way too big, and then once they're kind of all locked in a row, they're just right. You could do 2 chains, but I think that's a lot of work for a very little result. So this is what I did for this collar. I'll meet you back at the end. Okay, so I'm at the end, and I'm just kind of short one extra stitch, because this would be where I would be doing my next picot. I'm just going to fudge it and do one more stitch. So there's actually 3 single crochets instead of 2 before I start my picot. And that's because I didn't have an even number of stitches across, because I didn't count my stitches, I just measured it on my wrist. But it's okay. So now we've done our picot on the tip, on that corner. Now I'm going to do a single crochet pretty much in the same stitch, and then a single crochet in the next stitch. And I'm not doing any picots on the sides. You can if you want to. I just kind of like that clean look on the edges. I did the crab stitch in my other example all the way around, even down the sides. If you're going to use a furry yarn, I recommend doing as little fancy stitches as possible. This crab stitch was so difficult, and I should have just ended it there, just let that edge be the focal point, but I did crab stitch all the way around like a masochist. Don't do that. The rest of this can all be done in single crochet. Most of this stuff is not going to be seen. If you want to do a fancy stitch, just go across the top edge and then just down the increased sides, and then you can just do a regular single crochet around. That's my recommendation. Just do a single crochet around. It's fast, it's a clean looking edge. You don't need to do anything fancy. If you don't mind having the raw edge, as I call it, showing, you don't even have to do anything to these sides. You really don't, because people are going to be looking at this. They're going to be looking at this part. And very few people are going to grab your hand and say, "Let me look at that cuff. Let me look at that." Unless you're in like a costume competition, and then people are going to be looking at it they want to emulate what you're wearing. They want to learn how to make what you're wearing. Okay, this is one of the fun things about having a raw edge. You have to find where you put your stitches, and sometimes you have to go over 3 stitches and then you end up with this kind of hole at the edge. I don't like that, but sometimes you just don't have a choice. And remember what I told you, turn it and pull it tight, and sometimes you can get through a tight stitch a little easier. It works for all sorts of situations. If you have a tight stitch that's hard to get through. Edges are never fun. Just, as I always say, do your best. This is a raw edge. You got to clean it up. Or if you feel like you have to clean it up, it's not uniform. So you just try to find where you can put it through. Since these are single crochet stitches on a double crochet fabric, you're probably going to put roughly 2 stitches in each row on the edge. When you're at a corner, you can put in 3 stitches just to turn that corner. Now I'm at the bottom. You can do a single crochet across. This will also help make that extra stretchy foundation row a little bit less stretchy. It helps, especially if you're going to put it on tight on your wrists. So just do a single crochet all the way around, and you will have finished doing the main part of the work. Okay, so I'm at the last stitch where the picot was put in. And you can put a single crochet in there and then maybe a slip stitch. And then I do 2 chains to lock in the stitch. I hope you enjoyed this project. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.